right, it's still daybreak on Arise News, and it's that time for press preview. First look at what's on the front pages of the papers, and we start as usual with our own paper, that is this sister publication, the State newspaper. Let's see what the paper is saying on its front page. It says, Buhari excited by new banknotes, says enhanced security features will make counterfeiting difficult, with some riders there. It's maintains initiative will facilitate monetary policy objectives. MFLM, EFCC, ICPC to monitor massive bank withdrawals, reveals 165 billion naira of old banknotes have been returned. Also insists that anchor borrowers program not exposed to floods. All right, let's look at some of the other stories on the front page. INEC vows to end vote buying violation of campaign finances. It says identifies 4 critical areas of concerns to Nigerians, insists no more use of incident form, declares beavers irreversible, and we are solidly behind Atiku. Kowa South governors declare, that is the governors of the PDP. That will be it for this day.
Well, taking a look at another paper here today, the Punch newspaper. Of course, the new currency redesign making the headlines here. You can see that picture boldly there on the Punch. It says new Naira, CBN, EFCC to track large withdrawals. The screaming headline here says Paris Club refund, governors stop deductions, consultants head for French court. The writers here say governors will end up embarrassing Nigeria after overseas court ruling. Well, that's what the consultants are saying. And of course, Nigerian Governors Forum says states won't allow illegal payments to consultants despite DMO promissory note. Well, at the top of Punch there, talking about the petroleum sector, says NNPC meets marketers as petrol scarcity bites harder. And in politics, Obi's plane grounded. Campaign train seeks alternative arrangements. Now, those are some of the stories making the rounds here on the Punch newspaper.
Let's look at the Nation newspaper. It has on its front page, electricity crisis. Governors reject sale of 10 power plants. NGF insists on legal solution to $418 million Paris Club refund fee now. It's difficult to fake new Naira notes, that is Buhari. And AGF Idris returns $900 cash, witness tells court. And in that red strip, Wike overrated. Atiku camp hits back at the governor. And then, of course, on the top mast to the right, Tinubu inaugurates a Ebonyi Government House Road. And Ronaldo, Neymar begin World Cup quest today.
Well, of course, taking a look at The Guardian here, the new Naira note design also splashed across the page there. It says here, CBN rallies support for cashless economy as it unveils new notes. Let's take a look at the headlines making the rounds here as well on The Guardian. Paul ranks Obiano as best Anambra governor since 1999. That same story also made the rounds in the Punch newspaper. You want to check that out to see what that is really about. And in 2023, Paul will dislodge desperate politicians, Guinea Amadi declare. And on the health sector, HIV says prevalence in girls and women 60% higher than in men. Well, that's according to the NACA. Meanwhile, Ashira accuses El Rufai of plunging Kaduna into debt, unfolds economic agenda.
Leadership newspaper. Let's look at leadership. After leadership reports, INEC moves to tackle campaign spending breaches. And this is the first paper I'm seeing this World Cup story. Qatar 2022, Japan stunned Germany in another upset after Saudi Arabia beat Argentina 2-1. Spain trashed Costa Rica 7-0. That was a whitewash. Mixed reactions, of course, there will always be as CBN unveils new Naira notes. That's leadership. We'll go to foreign papers now.
And on the foreign scene, taking a look, of course, at iPaper here, it says Sunak faces battle with unhappy Tory MPs. That is the screaming headline on our paper here this morning. Taking a look, of course, at what's playing out in the world of sports. It says this World Cup is a travesty. It is against everything I believe in. England captain Leah Williamson on her boycott. You might want to find out what that is about. Of course, Sturgeon defiant as court vetoes Scotland this time. It says what ruling means for future of the UK and for north of the border. You might want to check out that story as well.
All right, let's look at one more paper, The Times. Let's look at The Times. The Times. Okay, Britain's told how to save energy. And then just that picture you're looking at, it shows Germans. It says they are protesting. Germany showed their view of FIFA's refusal to allow the wearing of one love armbands before their shock 2-1 defeat to Japan. Maybe that was why they lost. We'll see that. All right. We're calling Emmanuel now. Emmanuel Bello, glad to have you join us this morning. Welcome to the program. And of course, we begin as usual with our sister publication this day. This day, Buhari, excited by a new banknote, says enhanced security features will make counterfeiting difficult. INEC vows to end vote buying, violation of campaign finances.
Well, the big story is the new Naira, a lot of people call it recoloring and not redesign. I think the kind of pop or the kind of, reception the president was hoping to get yesterday, Nigerians, didn't just, easily warm up to it, especially we're a country that is given to aesthetics and to beauty, to seeing something new. And you don't blame anyone. We were actually expecting it. The promises were huge that it was going to be some kind of complete change, some kind of revolutionary change in the looks of the Naira. But what the president got right yesterday was to say that in over 20 years, his administration was first to have done this redesigning. No matter how you look at it, a lot of people say it's just basically color separation. But there was a little bit of chest beating yesterday when he said his administration is the first to do this in many years, close to 20 years of not any change, and that it's statutory to have country do it. Another first is that this is made in Nigeria. I don't know if you got that from his speech yesterday, but he said, well, this is the first time Nigeria, or Nigeria is one of the few countries who are actually making their money. So you're using made in Nigeria money, just somewhere not too far away from us here, the minting, printing, where you have, where we're now making our money. That tells you something about, looking inwards to do the right thing. What the economists are still not agreed on, and you have various take from many of them, is whether this has changed the value of money. As at yesterday, the Naira slumped again against the dollar, even with this redesigning. So there isn't much of that hope that the buying power of this redesigned money or money is going to change anything really drastically in the area of the. But one thing it's going to do, the president insists, like it said the very first time this idea was born, was that, well, it's going to suck out all those bad money in the black market.
Well, I guess I clearly guess that's still running, even as EFCC says it's still there to track large withdrawals. I mean, Emmanuel, away from the Naira, a lot seems to be playing out again with the Paris Club refund. Here in the Punch newspaper, it says governors stop deductions, consultants head for French court. The writers here said governors will end up embarrassing Nigeria after overseas court ruling. That's what the consultants are saying. And then, of course, on the part of the Nigerian Governors Forum, it says states won't allow illegal payments to consultants despite DMO's promissory notes. What do you think is playing out here?
Well, it's a culmination of a very long, drawn-out war between the Governors Forum on one hand and I think the Minister of Finance on the other hand. It's the clash between what is right for business and then, of course, what is right for patriotism. I think it is that interface that we're seeing playing out. A situation where the Governors Forum are saying, let's not just, let's not pay huge money to consultants while we've got troubles in our backyards. But the protagonists, or rather the antagonists to that, are saying that but it's also right to pay people who've done their businesses. So this is where that's the state of play in this issue. But the courts are weighing in, and the courts are on the side of the governors and saying it's not right to pay those kind of huge amounts. The businessmen are saying, look, we've done our job. We got due this money from the first club. Those Paris club money are always monies that are stuck somewhere. So you would need consultants to get them out. So this consultants are saying, we got this money out for us, pay us our fee. But when you look at the fee, it's such mind-boggling kind of deductions that are affecting state. These are states that are not very viable. These are states that are struggling, that depend practically on what they can get from the center. So to do further deductions, these governors are saying, look, we will not be able to meet our overheads. So we will need to put patriotism first, put our people first, put the country first before business consideration. But the businessmen are not happy about that. They are headed to court, and now it's gone from our courts here. They are heading to France, where they hope that a foreign court will be able to give better judgments around the issue. But it's an interesting, development.
All right, The Nation, 3 interesting stories. Electricity crisis. Governors reject sale of 10 power plants. And in that red strip, it says Governor Wike overrated. Atiku camp is saying this is hitting back on Atiku. And then ex-AGF Idris returns $900,000 cash. Witness is telling the court that, take your pick. The 3 stories.
Well, hold on a second. Just before we actually come in, I find this really interesting indeed. I mean, taking a look at the headlines you started with today, and that's the redesign of the Naira. One of the reasons the CBN governor gave was also to frustrate, the actions of terrorists rather, and banditry with the whole ransom payment. What we see on The Nation here, I believe on page 6, it says, bandits demand new Naira notes to free abducted victims. I mean, what do you guys make of this?
So you see, that came out so strongly yesterday with people saying that the new Naira note has actually, or rather the new design notes are now beginning to generate their own kind of problems. Basically, bandits actually saying that they want a share of that, and that you cannot even, pay for ransom with the old currency and everything. Unfortunately for anyone that is in that situation, the notes are not out yet. They were just unveiled yesterday. It's not as if they are out in circulation yet. So those are the kind of troubles that coming from that. You are trying to solve one problem, it generates another one. Of course, banditry and kidnapping and the finance that goes into that was to be addressed by all of this. But we're seeing a resurgence, sort of almost, that the bandits are now saying, okay, well, that's the currency we're going to use. It's going to become the legal tender for ransom, and that's serious. But yes, in those stories, a very interesting story. The article comes saying that Wike is overrated. I think this is coming from the new push by the South governors who met yesterday, and threw their weight again strongly behind Atiku. There are 4 of them. They also look like a G4 kind of arrangement. It was the swag of those G5. You see them exhibiting that yesterday. They were all gathered and they were making very punchy statement that the South is going to vote, and so maybe this is building new kind of confidence. But Wike has always continuously shown himself as a man in charge, and he keeps saying that nobody gets to Rivers State unless through him. He's the gate man of Rivers State, and that he's waiting to see how Atiku can get votes from Rivers State without dealing with those very punchy issues Wike and his team I'm talking about, namely that Ayu must leave or Ayu must go, and then of course to balance the ticket. Well, the ticket has been balanced already, but he's saying that you have to do something about the leadership of the party. And so, Atiku comes saying that, look, we can go behind you, we can get to the people directly, we can bypass you. And Wike is saying that will not happen.
All right, then. Well, just finally, let's take a look at one of the papers making the rounds, making news rather, outside our continent, and that's on iPaper here. I think I'm just going to take up what we see here on the World Cup. It says, this World Cup is a travesty. It is against everything I believe in. Well, that's England captain Leah Williamson on her boycott. I mean, we did suspect that, statements like these and actions like this will come up at the World Cup. But what do you make of this statement by the England captain? Well,
for me, generally, it's taken away from the sports. The spotlight is now on other issues, the LGBT community, the crisis of that community, and all of that. Even human rights records of the Qataris or the Qataris government and that of the Saudi. Those seems to be the punchy issue. Yesterday in the parliament, Kesterman actually coming out to say it's shame on FIFA. So it's almost like an anticlimax. But those who love the sports are enjoying. The upsets too are there. We saw one with the Saudis. We're seeing one yesterday with Germany and Japan. But those who love the the sport are trying to focus on it, but these other issues are cropping up and raising them. Probably next time FIFA is thinking of host countries, they might want to look at some of the, some of these tiny bits of issues that normally becloud a good sport and a good moment. World Cups over the years have been, it's just a place for jollity and happiness and just sports. But now these issues are really cropping up, almost taking center stage and taking the shine away from the sports.
Issues will always crop up in life. Nobody can stop the football fiesta. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. World Cup is World Cup. That's the press preview. Let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV. You can join today's conversation using the hashtag Arise Daybreak. Daybreak returns in just a moment with sports and entertainment. Don't go away.